the Israelis perpetrate these horrible crimes, and then they blame it on the Arabs. In the New York Times, Israel's attack in '67 on the intelligence ship Liberty, which killed 34 American sailors and wounded 171 others, was deliberate. Black newspaper, September 21, 1998, is this incredible article. Embassy bombers identified as Israelis. 2 U.S. embassies were bombed in Africa during the Clinton administration. Did you know that they blamed it on the Muslims?
We use a dumb Muslim. We'll get a dumb Muslim who's easily brainwashable, and we'll have them carry out an attack as a catalyst for us to go into war in Iran. Exactly. So we will use a patsy, and that will be the catalyst. Do you see what they did? Carrying out this attack.
So apparently the leader of Al-Qaeda has called upon Muslims in America to launch attacks.
Wake up, Americans. You're about to be pulled into a war with the Muslim world, and you're going to be made to believe that something horrible that happened to you was done by the Muslims. But it wasn't done by the Muslims. It was done by a wild card, the Israeli Mossad, that's cunning and ruthless and can carry out attacks on Americans and make it look like Arabs did it.
Another thing is to disseminate propaganda to influence people's minds. You have contact with a journalist, you will give him true stories, you'll get information from him, you'll also give him false stories.
Why do we care about Israel? Why is that our problem? It's like, that's just the first in a series. It's coming for us. That's like the test run.
The casualty count will be between 50 and 60,000 Americans dead. Am I wrong on that?
So I don't know the count that they're predicting. What I do know is Al-Qaeda trained and sent 1,000 attackers.
Can you do this with responsible reporters?
Yes, the Church Committee brought it out in 1975, and then Woodward and Bernstein put an article in Rolling Stone a couple of years later. 400 journalists to consciously introduce the stories into the press.
Well, Iran has also directed its proxy groups to embed sleeper cells in the homeland to be activated. Experts we spoke to said that should the U.S. join these attacks on Iran, they may try to activate these sleeper cells, Kelly.
Iran's operatives in the U.S. will strike.
So you think we need to understand and remember that you've got Iranian operatives in the United States right now?
Yes.
One coming out today, White House is currently monitoring possible Iranian sleeper cells in the United States. Here's another one that came out. Trump administration boosts monitoring of possible Iran-backed cells in the U.S. as Trump weighs strikes. Highly vulnerable Iranian supreme leader may try to activate sleeper cells in the West. Warnings from the FBI of potential sleeper cell attacks on U.S. cities, on U.S. soil, coming from Iranian sleeper cells.
We'll also work on their human vulnerabilities to recruit them in a classic sense, to make them your agent so that you can control what they do, so you don't have to set them up sort of, by putting one over on them. So you can say, here, plant this one next Tuesday.
This is coming after Iran has already directly made a threat to the United States of attacking U.S. military bases in the Middle East, and now you're going to be seeing the footage of them warning directly of attacks here on U.S. soil.
Give me a concrete example of how you use the press this way.
Well, for example, in my war, the Angola war that I helped to manage, 1/3 of my staff was propaganda. I had propagandists all over the world, principally in London, Kinshasa, and Zambia. We would take stories which we would write and put them in the Zambia Times.
Could the U.S. be targeted as Iran retaliates against Israel? This article coming out in the last 24 hours, and the answer they're saying is yes, and to watch out for sleeper cells, which are Iranian groups that have come to the United States. We're already here, ready to activate attacks on U.S. soil.
And then pull them out and send them to a journalist on our payroll in Europe But his cover story, you see, would be that he had gotten them from his stringer in Lusaka, who had gotten them from the Zambia Times.
Here's another one. MAGA warns of jihad sleeper cells in the U.S. after Israeli strikes in Iran take place.
After that point, the journalists at Reuters and AFP, the management was not witting of it. Now, our contact man in Europe was. And we pumped just dozens of stories about Cuban atrocities, Cuban rapists, but we didn't know of one single atrocity committed by the Cubans. It was pure, raw, false propaganda to create an illusion.
FBI sleeper cell warning list. First one is Washington, D.C. They know there are sleeper cells in Washington, D.C. all throughout New York. There's so many in New York. There's no specific locations, just the entire state of New York has sleeper cells. San Francisco, California, Santa Clara, California, Los Angeles, California, San Diego, California, Houston, Texas, Arlington, Texas, Dallas, Texas.
They're trying to say that they've been here since 2023. They're saying all this, and they're saying they're in New York, they're in LA, they're in this place and that place and this place. So supposedly they have all this information on them, but then they go on to say, we don't know where they're at or their locations, but they're here. Makes no sense. First of all, if you had this information 2023 and you let them get near the White House and in Washington and in New York and all these places, don't you think you would have acted on them already? So they think that the people are dumb and we don't know how to use our brain, but clearly they're just setting up their false flag. They're gonna do their own attack on this place here and then blame those spies that they have no idea of, and make it look like Iran attacked back.
September 10th, 2001, the day before 9/11, the U.S. Army released an intelligence report that said that the Zionists were pros at carrying out terrorist acts that made it appear that it was done by Arabs. That's not my conspiracy theory. That's a U.S. Army report.
The day before, published the day before 9/11.
You can call me any name you want to call me. That's a U.S. Army report. They warned us. They were telling us what Israel is capable of doing.
In 1967, Israeli warplanes attacked the USS Liberty off the coast of Palestine. This vicious attack left 34 American sailors dead and wounded 171 more. The reason behind this attack was that Israel intended to sink the USS Liberty and blame it on Egypt in order to drag America into the Six-Day War on the side of Israel.
The Lavon Affair was a false flag operation carried out by Israel and Egypt in 1954. Israel feared the strengthening ties between Egypt and Western powers, especially the U.S. So Israel came up with a plan. The operation was codenamed Operation Susanna, or as it is commonly referred to now, Lavon Affair. Israeli military intelligence recruited Egyptian Jews and undercover Israeli agents to orchestrate a series of bombings targeting American and British-owned institutions in Egypt. The goal was to blame the attacks on the Muslim Brotherhood and damage relations between Egypt and the Western powers, particularly the US and the UK. During the month of July in 1954, the operatives carried out a series of bombings targeting American and British-owned civilian facilities in Cairo and Alexandria. The targets included cinemas, libraries, American educational centers, post offices. On July 2nd, the agents detonated bombs at a post office in Alexandria. On July 14th, they bombed the libraries of the U.S. Information Agency in Alexandria and Cairo, and a British-owned theater.
So I wrote a book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center.
Netanyahu said in a book in the 1990s that if we don't see the threat of militant Islam, then pretty soon militant Islam will bring down the World Trade Center. Nice prediction there, just a bit of psychic, was he? You know, like it's got Israeli fingerprints all over it. And with any of that sort of stuff, you just got to say, you know, Q bono who benefits. And the only people who benefited from 9/11 is Israel, and even Benjamin Netanyahu said that as well.
Netanyahu said, quote, "We're benefiting from one thing, and that is the attack on the Twin Towers and Pentagon." And
the evidence that people need. And what would be the benefit for the Arab world blowing up Twin Towers? I mean, how have they benefited from this?
Christians don't go to war easily. sometimes they have to be bombed into going to war. Tel Aviv, tomorrow it's New York. I understand America first. I don't understand America dead.
Tell me this, why has ISIS never once, or al-Nusra Front, or al-Qaeda, not once have they attacked Israel? In fact, ISIS militants are getting medical attention in the Golan Heights and in Israel itself. What does that tell you?